So how are you processing the move right now?
Yeah, it was a weird deal. I I don't hate the deal. Yeah, just confused. Like surface level, we just talked about the bullpen in a recent episode, and I think generally all of us felt the same about it. It's not dominating or elite by any means, but should be able to get the job done. And the guys with options who likely start in the minors, like a Grant Wolfram and others, are interesting. Could have a bit more upside. Like it's fine, but to move a bullpen arm and Stroud, who has options, like I think you if you're making out a big league roster prediction, like you're pretty much penciling him into the bullpen to start the year. I don't know. I'm just confused why you would move an optionable bullpen arm plus two additional pieces for a utility bat with no options. And like we'll get into Blaze Alexander later, of course, but like I don't know. I don't mind attempting to upgrade the bench. Like I've said earlier this offseason that bringing in somebody to challenge Jeremiah Jackson, upgrade that bench spot is a need on the roster, and so they looks like they did that. They're attempting to do that. I don't know. I just didn't think it would involve moving three players to acquire that person when that's the type of player it seems like you could sign for a fairly cheap price. So definitely interesting trade and not one that I think anybody was expecting.
Cade Stroud, it's interesting because he's 28 years old. He's from the 2019 draft class, I believe. Yep, been around a minute. Finally gets into the majors last year, and the numbers on the surface look great, as do the stuff plus numbers. He had 5 pitches all over 100 stuff plus. I think when we did our Orioles Jeopardy with Eli from the Warehouse Pod, one of the questions was like, who led the Orioles in stuff plus in 2 different pitches, and it was Cade Stroud. He's got great stuff. Obviously, the question his whole professional career has been, can he locate it over the plate? Maybe the Orioles thought, hey, we can sell high on Stroud here. We don't believe in the command, the control, what have you, because the underlying numbers aren't quite as good. When you look behind the surface level stats from the majors last year, he had a 4.15 ERA in his time at AAA. Yeah, talked about Stroud, but Arsenio, man, well, I think, spoiler alert, we had him coming up in a couple of days on our top 50 countdown at number 17. He was number 13 on my personal list, but I definitely understand that the risk, like, he was a long shot, but I think why we have him higher than other places is just like that ceiling, man. If he hit, he's like mid-rotation starter stuff or closer type stuff, which, yeah, there's a far way to go for that. My thing is, why wouldn't you, if you're like, okay, we have only so many guys we can protect next year, Arsenio is one that we're definitely going to be looking to deal at some point, why not convert him to a reliever or put him out there as a starter, let him build his value up, and then trade him at the deadline? But I guess, pitchers and injuries, maybe this is just the best they could do right now. Do I kind of wish it was a deal for more than just like a reserve utility player? Yeah, but I guess just it is what it is. Not my favorite trade that the Orioles have made by far, but it does, as usual, make more sense the more you think about it.
Let's talk about Alexander for a minute because this is a guy who was drafted by Arizona out of IMG Academy in 2018, steadily rose through the farm system, made his major league debut in 2024. And in parts of the last 2 seasons in the majors, we've gotten a pretty clear sense of his strengths and weaknesses. He can play multiple positions at a fairly high level defensively. Um, he's got good platoon splits against left-handers, so it's worth noting that his batting average last year against lefties was under 240. Lifetime in the major leagues, 269 hitter with an 800 OPS against left-handed pitching. The problem, though, that we've seen throughout Alexander's career is that you've got fairly high strikeout rates for a guy that has not really tapped into the raw power that he showed in the minor leagues. And I went back and I looked at some reports during his time as a prospect, and Eric Longenhagen and Travis Ice over at Fangraphs actually kind of flagged Alexander's power as not being for real back in 2024. And so far, I think with his performance in the major leagues, they've been proven right. Where I think Alexander is a little bit different than Ramon Urias, well, for one thing, Ramon Urias was pretty slow. Alexander has not been particularly successful in his career at stealing bases, but last year Statcast had him in the 86th percentile in sprint speed. So if nothing else, you know that he can cover some ground in the outfield when he's there.
Just the more I've looked into it, the more I like what I see. Especially for a bench player, role player. But number one, it allows you, because Jeremiah Jackson, he's now in the 40-man, but he's got 3 options. You send him down to start the season in AAA, and you work with him to try to make the most of his skill set. And Blaze Alexander, he might make Leody Taveras actually be the odd man out when it comes to breaking camp now, because obviously Taveras was signed early in the offseason. We figured, okay, this is the guy that's going to be in center field, maybe late in games for defense against select left-handed pitchers to give Cowser a day off or move him over depending on what you want to do. Blaze Alexander is really good defensively. That's at third base, second base. He can play center field. He's got a cannon for an arm. It's got range. Like, the defensive ability is there all over the field, which I think is undervalued. Just defense in general, I think, is undervalued in analyst circles. But the bat is not too bad either. I mean, the barrel percentage was in, like, he didn't qualify, so the sample wasn't big enough, but 12.8% barrel rate looks like it was in the 80th percentile. His launch angle sweet spot was above average, chase percentage well above average. Like, there's nothing he does terribly other than swing and miss. And we know the Orioles love their guys that can swing and miss. And clearly, I think to give up this much for him, they clearly were targeting him. They have to see things that they think they can improve. He's fast. He's an athlete. I think he's your perfect Ramon Urias plus Jorge Mateo plus Leody Taveras, whoever that can play center field, like, all in one package. And I think it opens up trade possibilities now where if you want to make a huge trade for Tarek Skubal, who maybe the Tigers are a little more interested in trading after his historic arbitration win today, if it takes a Jackson Holiday or Jordan Westburg to try to get him here to be the ace of the staff, Blaze Alexander can fill in where needed there. If you want to trade a Dylan Beavers, I think it makes it a little bit easier to do that with a guy that can play the outfield and has an interesting profile. But yeah, I'm actually much more of a Blaze Alexander fan, and the vibes seem immaculate after seeing some videos of just him in a clubhouse, reports and stuff. So seems like a good dude. Yeah, I'm only upset about trading away Aracena, and even that is not as much as when I first saw it. So I'm a fan.